Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. For most people, the largest trash can in the home is in the kitchen. The most common things they throw away are food and food packaging. One way to support sustainable eating and the health of the environment is to reduce food waste. Dr. Heather Norman Burgdolf is here to talk about that. Heather, let's start by defining food waste. What does it include?
Yes, so food waste is any part of food that is not used or consumed. So some forms of food waste we can't control. So for example, you're eating a banana, you peel the banana, that banana peel is technically food waste, but we're not going to eat that, right? But there are other types of food waste that we can control. So for example, maybe we're routinely throwing out leftovers or spoiled produce. That is a form of food waste that could have potentially been eaten. Expired foods that have gone stale, and foods that have spoiled or rotted are the most common types of food waste that we tend to see in consumers' homes.
How much food do we tend to waste?
It is a pretty big problem. So the United Nations estimates that 1/3 of all food produced in the world is actually never eaten.
Hmm.
So, imagine having three apples that are perfect sitting right there. And you take one of those apples and you just throw it directly into the trash. So that's just kind of a visual of how much is being wasted. In the US, retail and consumers, so that would be in our homes, are the primary sources of food waste, and it's estimated that household waste is about 76 billion pounds of food per year. So I know that number is so big, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
Um, but that's compared to 22 to 33 billion that's coming from restaurants. And then, you have schools, hotels, and hospitals. So homes, we really could make an impact if we reduced our food waste.
So what tips do you have for us on how we can reduce food waste in the home?
So there are several little tips and tricks of things that we can do that are pretty practical. I'll start first with leftovers because that seems to be a big one. But being creative in how we transform and repurpose leftovers, if you have leftover vegetables, could it be a pizza topping or could you add it to a soup? So meals based on what foods you know that you're going to have left over. If you're routinely having leftovers, maybe we just need to prepare less if you can't eat it all in time. So maybe instead of the whole box of pasta being dumped into the boiling water, it's half the box. And then that's actually stretching your food dollars because you have food you could eat later on. Before you go to the grocery store, shop your own kitchen. Check and see if what you need is on your list. You actually already have tucked in a cupboard or a cabinet and you just don't realize it. Again, a lot of these are all about saving money as well as reducing the food waste. Make sure you're storing your produce correctly. So those apples, hopefully they were in the refrigerator because that's surprising to some people that actually apples should be stored in the fridge rather than the counter. So knowing where food is best stored is actually going to extend its life, so that it's less likely to spoil and you have more time to be able to eat it. And then using your refrigerator and your freezer wisely. So trying to keep those perishable foods like dairy in the coldest part of the fridge where the temperature is most consistent, which would be the top shelf, not in the door. That's where those condiments can go. That's really going to help extend the shelf life of some of your foods. And then your freezer can be your best friend. So if you're preparing too much food, freezing, storing for later use, that could be an option. You could chop up those apples and freeze them for later use to drop into a smoothie. Little tips and tricks like that along the way can really make a big difference when it comes to reducing food going into your trash can.
Great tips, Heather. Now, I know many of us are tempted to toss an item once the date on that food label has passed. What should we know about those dates?
Yes, so dates listed on food packages can be confusing. I agree too. I have to even double check. But they're often used to communicate to the manufacturer or to the grocery store, not the consumer, about the quality of the item. So the bottom line is date labels are meant to reflect quality and not food safety. So if the date on a product passes and you've not consumed it, the product should still be safe, except for infant formula. That is one difference there. Now, if the food has been stored incorrectly or it's clear that it's spoiled, then it's not safe to consume. So if the smell, the flavor, the texture, if there's a presence of mold or film or discoloration, then you want to toss it. But for the most part, give it a shot before you just toss it after the date to see if you could still use it.
For more information, be sure to contact your local extension office and ask about Eating Sustainably publications. Thanks for joining us on the Farm and Home Show, and we'll see you next time.